Hi guys, welcome back to Planet Therapy. Remember, this is a space where we have casual conversations surrounding self-love, work-life balance, and also belonging. Today, this kind of comes about as what is the new chapter that stands for you? And I feel like when you kind of enter new seasons or enter new dynamics or just new spaces, it can be really uncomfortable and it kind of brings about a lot of discomfort when you don't have your safety net. And I feel like we need to learn to kind of walk in soft ambitiousness. And why that sounds so funny in my head. Because I just feel like when you think of ambition, sometimes you kind of think of something that has to be fast, something that has to be really big or really expansive, or something that can be quite competitive as well. And I feel like it's become a norm in a society that I feel like I recognize that people don't want to grow up. And I think in my head, why I feel like that's the case is because for years, people have been told that once they reach 25, once they reach 30, 40, etc., like that, that they need to have their life in a certain type of way. And as much as sometimes it could be positive to want to buy a house by 25 or 30 or be married and have kids and etc., or be in your career job, in this climate is really difficult. And I feel like even in ourselves, sometimes we have our own race and we have our own journeys and we have our own way of doing things that is not going to look like how your family might want it to look like, or it might be different from your brothers or your sisters or your peers or your friends. And is learning to kind of be comfortable with that. So nowadays, I feel like people run away from those sorts of responsibilities because they're scared of kind of looking at the future and trying to want more for themselves, because sometimes it's easier to kind of see yourself at the limit of where you are rather than where you can be. So I think a reason or way to kind of mitigate that is learning that with ambition, it can be quite slow and it's catered to how you are as a person as you learn to get to know yourself more. But as you get to know yourself more, you also need to learn to recognize that you kind of need to be curious and you want to know those different sides of yourself that is kind of weaknesses. For example, with me, I think I talk about time and time again, I'm somewhere I call myself a retired people pleaser, where I just used to just say yes or just have peace in situations where I feel like sometimes it kind of ignored my own feelings. And I remember having a conversation with someone on the podcast and they told me that self-love to them is war or confrontation. And when I think about that, I'm like, what? But it's so true. And I feel like I consider myself someone who's quite like an empath or someone who's quite empathetic to other people's situations or feelings. But it gets to a point we need to learn to kind of confront yourself in like thinking and ask yourself hard questions. Why do I feel the need to always shut off my feelings, shut off my emotions? Or why do I feel like I only can remain here when in retrospect, I have the full capabilities and mindset to actually be way over there? And a lot of that comes from wanting to be uncomfortable in old patterns and old routines that no longer actually serves you anymore. And I feel like when you look at discomfort, the role of discomfort is kind of shake that old identity that you had. And sometimes people don't want to let go. They might say they want better for themselves, but they don't want to actually do the actions to do that. And that means removing yourself from workplaces or friends or family even, that don't serve your mindset anymore or serve your ideologies and stuff like that. And removing that safety net is hard. I won't lie to you. It's a difficult sort of thing to do. But when you learn to kind of choose yourself more, you learn that you need to be okay in discomfort, and you kind of need to make discomfort look more attractive. And that can be difficult when it's something that you have no idea and you're going in blind. But when you make discomfort look attractive, you kind of focus on the end goal or the person you're going to become when you thrive in this environment that's new to you. And a way to kind of make it look attractive, again, is by being curious. It's like, oh, I wonder what it'll be like if I actually move into a different city, for example, or start this new job. What things can I learn? What type of person or people am I going to surround myself with? Or if you see someone that might even be interested in romantically, it's like, oh, okay, I wonder what this might be. It might be different to how my ex partner might be like, but I wonder what I can learn from this sort of dynamic and learn about myself when I learn to embrace the new, if that makes sense. Even when it comes to certain projects, and when you kind of think of ambition as like an onion, it's kind of like, again, peeling back the layers. And when you look at the first layer, that does bring about curiosity. And it's like, what's calling me? I remember even before starting this podcast or starting this planet ecosystem, I went to a creative event. I went to Nourishment. It was amazing. And I think I just finished wrapping up season 1 of the podcast. But I felt like I wanted to do something more. I just didn't know what that was. And when I went to that event and I was surrounded by other creatives and stuff like that, and I made good friends, again, another person on the podcast. And if I didn't go to that event, I don't think I'd have been stimulated enough to kind of even build this planet ecosystem. Because I remember meeting other creatives and it kind of inspired me to be like, I remember I used to do poetry and I used to love drawing, and I had my own clothing business before and I really loved it. And it felt like I just removed that creative side of me because I was just focused on getting a job and stuff like that, which it does happen. But when you kind of then slow down and realize you need a hobby or you need things to kind of also feel alive because it's more to yourself than working and going home, it's like a light bulb moment kind of shone in my head when I was like, oh, I know I want to do something. I just don't know what that looks like. So I remember I went home and I was playing with ChatGPT and I put in all my skills or things I enjoyed and stuff like that. And we was literally going back and forth into different ideas that I could probably do. And I remember I saw app I saw shop and I was just like, oh my God, wait, I like this. And it's like identifying what was calling to me. It was calling to me of knowing that, okay, I was going through a period of time where even going to that event, I went by myself. I was curious to kind of like, okay, what sort of people can I meet? What will I learn? And when I did that, it kind of was like, oh, let me actually try something different. So I tried doing more research in the app space. Would I be able to build an app where I feel like I can help people meet new people or new creatives or expand on their career skills, etc., etc., because those are things I was passionate about. And it was also a journey that I was going through. And then when I'd done that research, I was like, oh, it's actually possible. I spoke to my friend Cameron, and he was like, because I know he was building an app as well, and he gave me some information about what he did or certain people to reach out to. And as I was just trying little by little, I was like, oh, now my app's building. And it was just something that started off as just me being curious about going to a new event by myself and meeting new people. And it kind of expanded into this where I kind of brought back my creative passions. I journal a lot more. I write my poetry. I got these clothes. I got a shop. And I just feel like as I'm working as well, there's just so much, I'm learning so much about myself. And I'm just so happy and I'm so elated to know that I can actually do this because I never thought I could. And it's just building my ambitions further and further because I know where I want to, well, I don't know the end goal, but I know that I love this journey and I'm just excited to kind of be on it. And I feel like without slowing down or without kind of giving into old spaces, I don't think I would have got to this place. And I just love that I've learned to kind of build self-trust in knowing that, okay, when things look a little left or I'm limited on these resources, I'm still able to pull myself further or pull myself to a place that's like, okay, I can actually manage this, and I do it. And after you feel like, okay, you pushed past when you experimented, you tried, you can then sit yourself and reflect and be like, okay, what parts of this did I enjoy? What parts of this didn't I enjoy? And you start to kind of then refine it and you start to be like, okay, great. I can set, let's say, this amount of time to kind of try this hobby or try this way of doing this project and then see how it goes. And when you keep trialing and trying to set yourself tasks and it's like, okay, great. You start to refine it a lot more and polish it to a place where it's like, this is where a final product that's like, oh, I can work with this. It might not be perfect, but it's a good starting off point to get to where you want to be. And when you start doing that, you start to kind of realize you're integrating it into your day-to-day life. Like even with Planet Essentials with the clothes, I realized that I know I wanted to become someone that I want to be fashionable, or not fashionable, but I just liked clothes. I like putting together pieces. And I wanted it to kind of be like something where it's like, it's not too much, but it's something that I can blend it in with my day-to-day style that I can wear to work or go about on my day-to-day or just go out on dates or stuff like that. And it just kind of just evolved into who I started to become. And I feel like when I wear these pieces or when I got my notebooks and stuff like that, it's something that feels like me. And even when I'm doing my poetry, and it's something I used to write spoken words when I used to be really involved in church a couple of years ago. And it was something that it's like I'm finding pieces of myself that I literally forgot all about. And I'm putting it all into something where it's even on display, but I'm not worried too much about what attention gets received from it, because I know that this is myself. And I'm really happy and proud of myself, and I'm confident in what I put out, because I know that for me, it's something that I love and I'm passionate about. And I just thought, why not share that with you guys, especially as I integrate it within my day to day. And then it's just built, and it will continue to build into something that I can actually be proud of. Even when you think about building, let's say, a career that you want to love and enjoy, it's about learning to accept opportunities that align with what identifies with you and not just any other opportunity. It's thinking about when you got something present in mind, what calls to you? What kind of speaks that little voice in your head that's like, oh, I like this. This seems like something I want to trial out. And it's not about, let's say, what you have pastly experienced, because sometimes it's like you get caught up in the past and you kind of trap yourself in what has been before. But when you start to put in that self-trust and you start to put in that sort of identity as something that some person that you want to be, and you have that sort of ambition, you realize that you can actually learn to kind of be curious of how to do that research, how to kind of stand out in that position, to then be like, okay, this is something new, but I can do this and I want to do this. And you start to reimagine what success looks like to you, purely because you've found a way to just embed soft ambition in a way that's not competitive, that's not rushed, it's intentional. And that's how you build those essential systems within yourself. I want you to kind of take a moment as well to kind of think about something where there's been a situation or something that's come about that you've been scared to try, but not because it's something that you can't do, but because it's new. And when you think about that, think about, do you know, I saw this saying where it's like, people say they're overthinkers because they're so quick to overthink about the things that are negative or things that could happen negatively. But why don't you try to actually think about the things that could go well, or things that it's like, when it's something that's brand new, the different possibilities that can come from it. And when you choose that line of thinking, you start to realize that you start to align yourself into an identity that you might not even know that you might belong to, but it's a lot more bigger and successful than you are now. And it's actually okay to also change your mind. You might actually try something and realize like, oh, I don't actually like this anymore. That's fine. That's not a waste of time. That's not something, a wasted opportunity. It's something that you open the door, you walked through it, and you don't have that regret because you still learned things from that situation or that season. And now when you shut that door in that season, it might be a romantic relationship, it might be a friendship, it might be a job. And it's like, okay, I've learned, I've done this. Now it's time for another door. It's time for another season. And it's embracing those different situations of yourself. And you learn to reduce that fear of not being who you want to be, or fear of failure. And you turn that into something that's strength. And you turn those life lessons into something that helps propel you on that journey that we're all on in this life. Because we've only done this once and we're still learning how to do it now. So trust yourself. I think one lesson that I want you guys also to take on board, that ambition doesn't have to be sharp, it doesn't have to be rushed, and it doesn't have to be something where you have to chase your future. That's not what growing up is. Growing up as you adult in life, it means learning how to tackle these situations that life forces us to be in, and learning how to adapt, and learning how to find yourself as you're doing that, and evolving. And evolution is not a quick thing. It is not a next day or overnight situation. It's something that we slowly build, and something that we slowly desire and slowly get better at. And that's okay. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope that you just learned a lot from this episode, even if it's just one thing, or just enjoyed having this conversation. Feel free to reach out to us on YouTube or Spotify. Also our website where you can find Planet Essentials, so you can get yours too. Also our socials are myplanetessentials_ on Instagram and TikTok and our social media platforms. And yeah, I just hope that you take care and you stay blessed. Peace.